Alright, Game Bears, it is time for a new tier list. And today we have Z moves for our tier list, and the different Z moves in the Generation 7 Pokemon games, as our 900 sub special. But before we begin with this list, I'd like to thank everybody for helping me get to 900 subscribers, and here's to 950 subs. So, this is a list from S tier to F tier, on my opinions on each of the different Z moves, as well as the Z attacks that we get from them, and the Z crystal designs and stuff. This is the first list where we're not ranking the Pokemon themselves, but attacks instead. So a few ground rules, just the closer they are to the different tiers, the stronger my opinion of them in said tier. Like the closer in S tier, the more I like it, and same with other tiers. However, in the lower tiers, the farther from S tier, the more I dislike it. So, without further ado, let us begin with the Pika. I believe that's Alolan Raichunium Z, I think the name of it is. Alolan Raichunium Z, I think it's called. I don't know. And I believe we get Stoked Spark Surfer. I never really used the Z move myself, but I think his animation was pretty neat, and it's exclusive to the Alolan Raichu line, which, hey, y'all know how much I like pancakes, which Alolan Raichu is partially based on, so honestly, just for that alone, I think I'll give this one A tier. Just as based on my pancake boy. Alright. Buganium Z or Savage Spinout. I always liked how the bug type, and it doesn't make as much sense for non-bug types using it, how they just throw a giant spider web at their opponent and kind of wrap them up and slam them right down and then cut right through the cocoon. I think that's a pretty neat animation. Though it is one of the weaker Z moves in terms of damage, since Bug is one of the weaker types offensively, so I'll give it B tier for that. Darkinium Z, or Black Hole Eclipse. Aside from the cool name, this Z move doesn't really... Like, it's one of the weaker Z moves, if that makes sense, because, like, a lot of the Z moves for it have very low base powers. Fun fact, actually, Hoopa Unbound with Hyperspace Fury has the strongest Dark-type Z move, and the second strongest being out of the move Foul Play, which is normally base 95 power, and only going up to base 185, I believe. Aside from the cool name, it's just kind of underpowered as well, so I'm going to give it high B tier for that. Alright, Deciduum Z, or Sinister Air Raid, and one of the Z moves that, if you play the animation, will give you a copyright strike, so wonderful. I do like the name of it, and the animation's pretty neat. Though, a Z move I never really used too much during the Gen 7 days. Cool name, cool animation, I'll give it A tier. Just being Decidueye firing a bunch of arrows at its foe. Dragonium Z. Honestly, love the little Z move animation, and I think I should mention those as well, the animation the player character does for each of the different Z moves. Some of them I forgot, it's been so long since I played the Gen 7 games at the time of me making this video. But, like, I remember the bug one, the dark one I'm having a little trouble remembering, not gonna lie. But otherwise, the dragon one, it's like, I bring this up because the little dance that the player has to do is kind of like a reverse Kamehameha, and I think that's pretty cool. Plus, Draconic, I forgot what it was called. Devastating Drake. Really cool name. I like how it's basically a giant dragon being fired at your opponent. And a lot of Pokemon you wouldn't expect could use it. Like, I ran this on a Beware once, since Beware for some reason is Dragon Claw, so I was like, hey, why the hell not? So I'm going to put in high S tier for those reasons. Alright, Evium Z or Extreme Evo Boost. I like the pun on Ego Boost. One of the most broken Z moves in tandem with Baton Pass. If you guys didn't know, Eevee could use this, and then Baton Pass right afterwards, and whatever opponent can come in will get a 2 times Omni Boost, plus 2 in attack, defense, special defense, and speed, and that was paired with either Stored Power sets, or like Power Trip Crocodile sets, to absolutely sweep through your opponent. Giving Eevee a nice little Z move and using all of the evolutions and another Z move that'll give you a copyright strike if you try to play it, I think is pretty neat. Though, I'll give it low A tier, because I think it's real neat and the animation's quite creative. Plus all the creative strategies with Baton Pass that you can use with it. Alright, Electrium Z, or Gigavolt Havoc, I believe it's called. I like that you shoot a giant electronic bolt at your opponent, and you can use this with a lot of Pokemon you wouldn't expect. Like, I've seen a Wurmple with Electroweb use this thing before. It's kind of funny. I'll give it low S tier for that. Alright, Twinkle Tackle is probably one of the worst Z moves in my opinion. Not because it's weak, but because its animation is ass. Like, I'm gonna give it low F tier because, some people find it funny that the Pokemon using it will kind of just fly up to the opponent and act all cutesy and stuff and toss them away, but the animation is so lazy and lame looking. Just the 3D model of whatever Pokemon using it will just fly using it and hit the opponent. That's kind of it. They could have done so much more with this animation, but nope, that's what we got. I will give it this, though. Fairy MZ with Geomancy, Xerneas is broken as hell. You thought Power Orb was broken? Yeah, sure, it takes you an extra turn to get it set, but you immediately get an Omni Boost along with the +2 special attack, special defense, and speed you can get with it. So, I think it's a worthwhile trade-off having to take the extra time, in my opinion. And get a few extra stats out of it. And I think Xerneas learns Stored Power as well, so it makes for a deadly combo there. Alright, All-Out Pummeling or Fightinium Z, I'll give it C tier. I mean, you can definitely give it some good coverage and whatnot. With a lot of Pokemon that can learn certain fighting type moves. But it's just the opponent kind of throwing a bunch of fists and kicks at the foe, and it could have been animated a little better. And the name, it could have been better in my opinion too. Now, Infernal Overdrive is actually quite cool. Y'all know Fire type along with Dragon and Ice are my favorite types, so I'm giving it high S tier, and it's really cool Z move name, Infernal Overdrive. Fun fact, Infernal Overdrive has the highest base power of any Z move. And the reason being, if you use it with a Victini that knows V-Create or a Rayquaza that knows V-Create, it'll be 220 base power. No other Z move can exceed 200 base power. Yeah, and that includes moves like Self-Destruct and Explosion that normally have higher base powers than V-Create. Not Z-Create, imagine. And I remember using Burn Up Moltres with this in the Battle Tree back in the first Sun Moon before Ultra Sun Ultra Moon. And that's a story for another day. I was never able to beat the Super Multi-Battle in that mode. I later redeemed myself in Ultra Sun Ultra Moon about a year later, but in all three modes, singles, doubles, and multi in the Battle Tree. And the Battle Tree is considered one of the harder battle facilities. So, I was able to do that, just giving myself a little tooting in my own horn. But otherwise, that was a strategy I used in the first Sun and Moon with a Moltres, and hey, it was really strong with the move Burn Up. And I appreciate it for that. Alright, Supersonic Sky Strike, cool name, but the animation, just like Twinkle Tackle, is kinda lame. Like, especially, well, it's funny if you use either Wailord or either of the Doug Trios, the Cantonian one or the Alolan one. Because with them, they'll have a rock come out of the ground while they're flying through the sky. Which I think is kind of funny, just attached to where they are. Since, you know, you can use the move Aerial Ace on those two. And on Wailord, it's just a giant whale flying at you, which it gets some small bonus points for that, but it's funny. And yes, you can get some really strong Z moves out of moves like, say, Brave Bird, for example. But otherwise, Flying Z I wish could have been a little better, I think, its animation. Alright, Never Ending Nightmare, Ghost DMZ. I do like the slight creepy vibe this animation gives off. I'll give it a B tier. As well as Best Alola Girlish Arola gives you this, so get some bonus points for that. But, like, the name's cool. You can run this on, I mean, unlike some of the other Z moves we mentioned, you can't run this on too many Pokemon with certain coverage moves. Just because Ghost isn't really the best offensively when it comes to hitting for super effective damage, so... I mean, there are better Z moves for that, in my opinion, but otherwise, Ghost Named Z is okay, I guess. Grassium Z or Bloom Doom. Most of, like, the status moves that go with the Grassium Z kind of just reset base stats, like Leech Seed, for example. So, there's not much uses there, I guess. I mean, Bloom Doom is a pretty decent name, in my opinion. And you can pair it with, like, Power Whip or the Frenzy Plant move. And get base 200 power out of it, so it's a good way to kind of use the power of that move without having to worry about the drawback of it, which I think is pretty cool. I'll give it high B tier for those reasons. Alright, Ground DMZ or Tectonic Rage. I'll give this one, I'm going to give it a low S tier, because I kind of like it. Good name, Tectonic Rage, probably one of my favorite Z move names. Oh, we'll get to another Z move name later on. But, I think my favorite way to use this, aside from maybe on Earthquake Garchomp, which was broken as hell, especially with Sword Dance, nothing is taking that, even through Protect. But, well, maybe, Protect will help it take it much better, but it's still going to do quite a bit of damage. But if you don't Protect, yeah, no, it's going to do a hell of a lot of damage. I liked running this on, get this, Dhelmise. And y'all know Dhelmise's ability Steel Worker, giving it Steel-type stab effectively. Offensively, it's basically a Grass Ghost and Steel-type. Well, what I like to do with Ground DMZ, if I run it with Earthquake, specifically in singles, it's a little harder to do that in doubles, I'd say. Back in the Gen 7 games. Because certain Z moves as coverage could act as like a pseudo-stab. If you use Earthquake out of Ground DMZ, you kind of get base 180 power Ground-type move without the drawbacks of Earthquake. And I liked using it like that as effectively a fourth stab for Dhelmise. So that was definitely my favorite use for it. Otherwise, it's pretty versatile in a lot of Pokemon that learn Ground-type moves. And, again, cool kick-ass name in Tectonic Rage. Corkscrew Crash. Pretty decent name. Unlike some other Z moves we had already mentioned, you can't run it on too many different things, because there's not a lot of Pokemon that really need Steel type coverage. Some do maybe, but not a lot. So it's better used on Pokemon that are already Steel types like say Metagross or Lucario. I'll give it low 8s here. Just because I do like the name, though the animation could be a little better and it can be a pretty useful Z move. Alright. Malicious Moonsault or Insinium Z. Alright, I gotta give this highest here. And I got a small story to tell. I remember when Pokemon Ultra and Ultra Moon first came out. I think the game was only out for about 2 weeks. I remember, this was in my sophomore year of high school. And I was against Ultra Necrozma, which I didn't know was coming up at the time. And you know me, I more often than not choose the Fire Starter. And Litten was my choice about the original Sun Moon, and Ultra Moon had an Insinium Z on it. And all I did against Ultra Necrozma, yeah, I know, my Incineroar was level 63, and I kept using Roto Boosts against it, and it had the move Power Gem, along with its Neuroforce ability, which does 20% more damage if the move is super effective. My Incineroar was taking it. On the first turn, I'd use the Roto Boost that would give you 1 Omni Boost, plus 1 to all your main 5 stats. I did that. Next turn, full restored. Took another Power Gem, did another Roto Boost. The next turn after that, full restored. And did that one more time. Did a Malicious Moonsault and one-shot at Ultra Necrozma. Yeah, I know, not the most honorable strategies, but hey, I didn't know that thing was coming, and I didn't want my whole team getting swept. So, hey, I'm gonna take the win how I can, right? Well, with that being said, I do like the name Malicious Moonsault. I do like how it's mentioned in Smash Bros., though it's a little different in that game. And it's a pretty solid Dark type move that I believe has the same effects as Darkest Lariat, where it will ignore defense boosts, which is pretty cool. So I'll give it that high placement. Alright, Kalinger's Soul Blaze. Basically a spread move that also gives Como a Omni Boost. Just easy S here. And I like how in later games, starting from Sword and Shield, it basically just became a signature move for Como and Kalinger's Soul, which is always a really useful move in my opinion, especially paired with the Throat Spray item. But that's slightly off topic. I just like that it's a spread move in doubles. And I think it's base 180 power, I believe. It's based on Clanging Scales, which is a base 100 power move, so yeah, it'd become base 80. Or 180. Being a spread move, and giving you an Omni Boost right afterwards, which is pretty freaking broken on a Pokemon like Como, and I don't care what people say, Como is a good Pokemon. Very underrated pseudo-legendary, in my opinion. But otherwise, really cool Z move right over there. Next up, Lunalium Z, or say this 5 times fast, Malicious Moonsault. Or, not Malicious Moonsault, sorry, my mistake. Menacing Moonraze Maelstrom, Menacing Moonraze Maelstrom, Menacing Moonraze Maelstrom, Menacing Moonraze Maelstrom. I messed that up, but whatever. Menacing Moonraze Maelstrom. Dare anyone to say that right now. Seriously, it's kind of hard to say, as those last 2 times I kind of fumbled it. Aside from that mouthful of a name, I love this animation. I'm gonna actually give it high S tier. Like, because, yeah, again, aside from the mouthful that name is, I like how Lunala or Dawnwing's Necrozma can just summon a bunch of wormholes and just blow up the opponent with a bunch of beams of light, which is pretty damn cool. Alright, Lycanium Z. And for the Lycanroc forms, all 3 Lycanroc forms, mostly for the Dusk form, though, you get the Splintered Storm Shards attack, which will set up Stealth Rocks after used, and only can be used with the move Stone Edge. I mean, the name could be better, and the secondary effect is nice, but Lycanroc, pains me to say as much as I like the Dusk form, isn't really the best Pokemon to use in battle, so I'll give it, like, D tier for that. I mean, it's a decent concept, but the execution really isn't the best, and the animation's alright too, I'll give it that. Alright, here's my all-time favorite Z move. Marshadow Z move in Soul Stealing 7-Star Strike. Oh, I love that name. In my opinion, what they should do with that name, that's 5 letters, or 5 words. They should bump it up to 7 words, you know, referencing 7. Stars. Soul Stealing 7-Star Strike. And my proposed name for it is super, like, and they all should start with the letter S as well. Surging Superstar. Hold on, let me try to say this. Surging Super Soul Stealing 7-Star Strike. Try to say that 7 times fast. But other than that, I love this thing's animation and the fact that it references the Z move symbol, which is pretty freaking cool. Definitely a better Ghost-type Z-move than Never-Ending Nightmare. It's Marshadow, one of the best mythical Pokemon using this attack. And plus you can use it out on the move Spectral Thief. And again, the animation is absolutely kick-ass. Too bad I can't play it here, but you should really go see it if you haven't already. I might leave this link in the description for Z-move animations for those who might want to see the animations again. But otherwise, I love the Z-move. Easily my favorite Z-move in this game. Alright, Muse Z-move. Genesis Supernova, where after it's used, it will set up a Psychic Terrain. A pretty useful move for Mew, even though outside of events and transferring from previous games, are you really going to get a Mew? And outside of GTS as well, if somebody wants to trade you a Mew, that is. It's pretty neat Z-move animation, and it sets up Psychic Terrain, which is pretty cool. The problem is it's kind of obscure and very hard to get. So I'm gonna, and because you need Mew in order to get it, so that kind of docks some points of it. I'll give it low B tier, just because I do like the name and the animation of it. Let's Snuggle Forever, Mimikyu's signature Z-move. I kind of like that the opponent gets smothered under Mimikyu's little cloth, since the Pokédex entry is about how whatever sees Mimikyu's true form instantly dies, so that's a little grim. But otherwise, I'm going to give it high A tier because I think the animation's kind of funny. And I always like how the main character, Selena or Elio, depending on who you're playing as, will give the Mimikyu a thumbs up to use the attack, which is kind of funny. So I'll give it high A tier because I do like the animation. Though I'd rather use other fairy-type moves myself. Like Z-Geomancy if I can. Or just something more versatile on Mimikyu, like Z-Splash out of Normalium Z. Or Focus Sash before Disguise got nerfed, but you get it. So, a part of me kind of wants to put this low tier because Breakneck Blitz, it's a normal type move. What better name could they have come up with for it? There are some pretty decent normal type moves that have pretty cool names. But otherwise, Breakneck Blitz, while you can get a pretty high base power of it using it with moves like Hyper Beam or Giga Impact, how I like to use it, this is a meme. Z-Splash. Y'all think I'm joking, but if you don't know, Z-Splash, it'll give you +3 in attack after using it. So basically like a Swords Dance and the move Sharpen in one, which is pretty damn cool. That can be run with Mimikyu, which makes it easy thanks to Disguise. That can be run with... I've run it with Solgaleo before, I've run it with Gyarados before, just Pokemon with high attack stats. It's actually kind of funny to use. If Z-moves ever return, I definitely want to do something like that again. So, a part of me kind of wants to put it in Z tier, but just because of how funny Z-Splash specifically is, I kind of want to put it in B tier. I'm going to put it high B tier just because I think Z-Splash is funny. But Breakneck Blitz, and the animation for it kind of sucks, so you know what? Yeah, I'll lower it a little bit just because the animation of it kind of sucks, but Z-Splash is part of the reason why it's even this high. Alright, I do believe this is one of Pikachu's Z-moves, so let's see, I have a list of them right over here, the name of that being... Catastrophica, or Pikachunium Z. I don't think I've ever, to my memory, I don't think I've ever really used the Z move myself. But, it's alright, I guess. I don't really remember using it all that much myself, though, so I can't really remember the animation off the top of my head. I think it's basically a stronger version of Gigavolt Havoc, though it's Pikachu using it, so it is a little limited, though I guess the animation would be alright. And the other Pikachunium Z, for the move... 10 million Volt Tackle, or Volt Thunderbolt, not Volt Tackle. Let me say it again. 10 million Volt Thunderbolt. Alright, really cool name, especially since Thunderbolt's Japanese name is 100,000 volts. Or 100,000 Thunderbolt, I believe. One of those, 100,000 volts, I'm pretty sure it's called in Japanese. Which I like that little reference, showing that this move is, at least 10 times stronger, which is pretty damn dangerous. Or, actually not 10 times stronger, 100 times stronger. Gotta get my math right. Just because of the name, and I think the animation is really cool, as well as how it was used in the anime, I'll give it low S tier. Why not? Because I think it's got a pretty neat name and a neat concept. Alright, Acid Downpour. In my opinion, it should be called Acidic Downpour. Acid Downpour doesn't sound as good. Say it to yourself. Acidic Downpour, Acid Downpour. Don't you think Acidic Downpour sounds better? Let me know what you all think about that in the comments, but I'm gonna put... because I do I just wish the name was a little different. The animation is pretty cool, though, and you can definitely use it on a good amount of Pokemon that learn Poison type moves, like certain Grass types or Water types. Especially any Pokemon that might already be Poison type, like Salazzle or Tentacruel. Get some really good use out of it, so I'll put it high B tier, just because I do like the concept, I just wish the name was a little different, that's all. And here's another Z move that'll give you a freaking copyright strike if you try to use it. Primarina's Oceanic Operetta. Now, I find this animation to be kind of funny, because Primarina just brings a big-ass water bubble out of thin air and slowly moves it towards the opponent, which I find to be kind of funny. It's like you're standing there for 10 seconds just watching that go. And then Primarina sings and the bubble pops, which is a pretty neat animation. I'll give it that. I wish it was a little faster. There's no reason for it to be that slow. And it is the strongest of the 3-starter, Alolan Starter exclusive Z moves. So that gets some higher points there. And I do like the name too. Oceanic Operetta is a pretty neat name. I'll give it high A tier. Alright, Shattered Psyche. Out of Psychium Z. One of the few Z moves that isn't given to you by a type specialist. In both the original Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun Ultra Moon. And I do like the name Shattered Psyche, and I loved using this thing with Necrozma or Tapu Lele. Though I prefer using on Necrozma with Prismatic Laser. And again, this is the first Sun Moon before Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. So I'll give this one high A tier as well, because I think I got a lot of use out of it. I'll put it, like, right here. I mean, you might be wondering why I put it on Tapu Lele, just for a really good burst damage, though Choice Specs, Choice Scarf, or Light Form are all better on Tapu Lele, I think. But this is a nice alternative, in my opinion. I think I remember using it on some other non-psychic types as well, but I don't remember. I gotta look at my old Gen 7 files. So at the time of me making this video, I haven't played my old copy of Moon and Ultra Moon from high school in a lot of time now, and quite a few years. I really gotta look back at them. But otherwise, that's my opinion on Shattered Psyche. And next up, Rocky MZ or Continental Crush, which is a pretty cool name. I like how the opponent just turns into a giant boulder and just flattens the opponent. I find that funny. Though I don't like it nearly as much as Tectonic Rage. And again, another Z move you can use on, like, fighting types to go against pesky flying types, or ground types to go against, for a nice coverage or whatever, if you want to do that. So, and because of its pretty decent name, I'll give it, like, low A tier. I think it's pretty cool. Pulverizing Pancake, or Snorlaxium Z, I believe it's called. And Pulverizing Pancake is kind of funny. Well, aside from the fact that Pancake is in the name, so it's getting extra points just for that. I like how Snorlax just gets up and starts, like, jumps up, runs at the opponent, and straight up flattens them. Do you want to get flattened by Snorlax? I don't think you do. But one other thing I do find kind of funny is how when the player will use the Breakneck Blix animation, dancing animation, and they happen to be standing right on top of Snorlax. That's pretty funny, a nice little optical illusion. So I'm going to give it, I think I'll give it, like, mid-S tier, just because I think that animation is funny, and just Snorlax running at the foe is hysterical. Plus, it's event only, so I'm pretty sure that event's been discontinued for those people who might have not played the Gen 7 game so soon. So you kind of permanently miss out on this event because of that. So, some small minus points for that, but otherwise really funny animation. Alright, so Gallium Z, or what is it called again? Searing Sunray Smash. Doesn't sound nearly as much as a mouthful as Lunala's version, but when Solgaleo and Duskman and Necrozma learn it, I think the animation's even better than Lunala's, because I like how they just go into a wormhole, go through a ray of light, and then do, like, a rollout attack or rolling around at speed of sound for those of you Sonic fans out there, and just ram right into the opponent. I think that shit's pretty funny. Plus, again, the name's pretty cool. Searing Sunray Smash, Searing Sunray Smash, Searing Sunray Smash, Searing Sunray Smash, Searing Sunray Smash. See? So much easier to say than Lunala and Dunweek's Necrozma's move. So I'm gonna put that, I think I'll put it in, right next to Lunala's thing. Yeah, you know, just a little higher. And also, did I just make a mistake? I just realized something. Alright, Corkscrew Crash I'm gonna put there, and you know my reasoning for that. I made a huge mistake. I apologize. That was not, this one over here is ICMZ or Sub-Zero Slammer. I kind of wish I could go back now, but too late, already in the video. But alright, so I already said my opinions on the Steel Z move, so I'm gonna say my opinions on ICMZ. You know, Ice is one of my favorite types, but Sub-Zero Slammer I think is a pretty cool name. Plus, running in with, say, Black Kyurem as a really strong wall breaker, or a Pokemon that needs Ice-type coverage like a Water type against Grass types, I think makes it pretty good. And again, pretty decent name. It can run it with a variety of Ice-type moves, like, say, Blizzard if you want more power, or Ice Beam, Ice Punch for physical attackers. All of that. You got a wide variety of options for the C move. So, I think I'll put it a little higher. I'm going to put it in high A tier. Alright, only 3 Z moves to go. One of which being Tapium Z or Guardian of Alola. As cool as the animation is of a giant coming out of the ground like a light giant that the 4 Tapus can ride on is its head, the fact that it only does 75% damage to the opponents, the only use I can kind of see for that attack is if you're against, like, a Pokemon that's a complete unit of a wall. Like, say, a Alolan Muck, for example, that the Tapus do have some trouble getting through. And you just need some really big damage on it, but not to kill them. And maybe if you're playing in doubles, you could use a partner to finish the job and get rid of that wall. That's the only use I can really see for this. Like, other than the cool animation and the cool name, it doesn't really have much going for it. I'll give it like high C tier at best. And I think it's one of the few Z moves that still does the damage it needs to, even past Protect. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. But yeah. Alright. The light that burns my eyes up, sorry. The light that burns the skies, or Necrozmium Z, I believe it's called. Let me just fact check that. Necrozmium Z, I think. I'm not entirely sure. But out of the move Photon Jazz are exclusive to Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. Especially, I think this is the Z move that has a little turning animation that we saw in one of those trailers back when Ultra Sun Ultra Moon was first coming out. Kind of referencing this. I mean, it's a really cool Z move. Who doesn't like this Z move? Frickin' Necrozma in its Ultra form will just charge up a big-ass Spirit Bomb and just shoot it right at the opponent. Just take out the light in the entire universe. Shoot it right at the foe, and they just get vaporized in an instant base 200 power move that's gonna one-shot quite a lot of things. Plus, again, the name is sick. Light that burns the sky. Like, come on. It should be called... Honestly, it should be called Light that burns the universe, honestly. I think that's more fitting for how that animation plays. But... this Z move, really cool. I love the name Light That Burns My Eyes. I want to keep calling it that because, yeah, if you were to stare at the thing, your retinas are done. But otherwise, really cool Z move on a pretty sick Pokemon, so I'm going to give it a high S tier placement. And finally, Watarium Z, or Hydro Vortex. So you compare this with a really cool water type move like Hydro Cannon or Hydro Pump if you don't want to deal with the accuracy issues. Scald, and get some pretty high-powered moves out of it. Or Surf if you don't want to deal with the drawbacks of that move. Like, some pretty decent ways you can use certain move pools on certain Pokemon to get some good burst damage out of it. Plus, I kind of like that it's a giant whirlpool that sucks in the opponent and kind of hits them multiple times. So I think that's pretty sick. And, I think I'll put you... And I like the name, too. Hydro Vortex. Simple name, but it works, in my opinion. I think I'll put it, like, mid-A tier. I think it's pretty cool. Love running it on water types if I need some good water type burst damage. But anyways, with that being said, that's my Z move tier list. So what do y'all think of this list? And if you'd like to put it in the comments, what's your ranking from S to F tier on all of the different Z moves, the little symbol designs, their animations, how you could use them on certain Pokemon? Like, what's your opinion on all of those and why, if you'd like to? So, do you agree with this list? Do you disagree? Let me know why in the comments. And once again, thank you everybody for helping me get to 900 subscribers. Next up, when we hit 950 subscribers, I'll be ranking, in my personal opinion, on the different Gigantamax forms of Pokemon in Pokemon Sword and Shield. So, thank you all for watching. Thank you everybody again for 900 subscribers, and have a berrific day.